welcome to episode 26 of the Little Home Podcast. My name's Bex, and this is a creativity podcast about all the things I've been knitting and sewing and making. For anyone who's returning, it's so lovely to see you guys again, and for anyone who's new, very warm welcome. My name is Rebecca, or Bex, and I'm English, but I live here in Australia. I'm just outside of Melbourne, about 2 hours outside of Melbourne, in the countryside at the moment. And for anyone who is subscribed to this channel, you'll see that I've been doing regular tiny house build project vlogs, and the plan is to continue with those whilst also from time to time dropping in and doing a podcast as well. So you're welcome to either look at all of the vlogs and podcasts or just choose the ones that you're interested in. But this will be all about everything that I've been knitting and sewing in the last couple of months, and there's a lot to share with you guys. So you can follow me on Instagram as @Bex_in_real_life, and that's my kind of creativity and kind of daily life Instagram account. And then if you're more interested in the tiny house build, you can follow along on the littlehome.oz, which is my tiny house and alternative living account. So I'm coming to you guys from a bit of a different spot. I actually just finished painting this little room for my mother-in-law, who it's her little yoga room. It's out in the shed, and it's really, really beautiful. It's surrounded by lots of birch trees. Very, very pretty, and it's got quite nice light as well. If you do hear any noises, I apologise. There is some construction going on, and also we have a whole troop of sulphur-crested cockatoos who are currently sitting in the top of the pine trees and having a great time knocking pine cones down onto the top of the shed. So if you hear that, I apologise, but I thought you'd probably want a podcast more than a noise-free podcast. I've got a lot to share with you guys today, and I'm pretty excited to get started. So the first thing that I'll share with you, I'll probably start with my finished objects because there's quite a few. The first thing that I will share with you guys is what I'm wearing. So this is the Audrey in Unst cardigan pattern. It's a pattern by Gudren Johnson. It's a really awesome pattern. I'm so happy with how it turned out. I made it out of an 8-ply cotton. It's actually a sport weight or a 6-ply, 5-ply pattern. It's what it's designed for. I ended up using 8-ply Cascade Ultra Pima in their brick colourway, which is this really beautiful kind of terracotta pink. It's like a dusty pink. It's my favourite shade. And I think I used 3 skeins and I had a little bit left. No, I had 4 skeins and I've got almost 1 whole skein left. I went down a needle size because I love the fabric and also to hit gauge. I've learned in the past that cotton has a real tendency of stretching in the width-wise, so I really wanted to try and stop that from happening. So I have quite a tight gauge on this, and it's worked really, really well. The fit's fantastic. This actually isn't blocked, so you can see that the shoulder seams will sit a little bit smoother once I've given it a little steam block. I was a bit nervous to block it because I don't want it to grow too much. It fits so well at the moment, but I'll have to wash it at some point. The Audrey Unst pattern's got this really beautiful lace detail here at the yoke, and it's a seamless construction, but it looks like it has seams. So I think you start at the hem and you work up, and then you split, and then you work the back and the front separately, seam at the shoulders, and then you do short rows to create the sleeves. And it's quite a simple pattern, and it's just so beautiful. I'll show you a little bit closer what it looks like. There you go. It's got this really beautiful I-cord neckline, which kind of gives it this rolled effect. some sweet little pearly buttons. And I made some adjustments to the pattern, and you can see my project notes on Ravelry. My Ravelry name is Rebekahsjs, so you can actually have a look there. I did detailed notes on what I did. The pattern is longer, and it looks like it's kind of more hip length, just on the hip, and that just doesn't work for me. I've got a very hourglass shape, and I like to accentuate my waist, not my hips. So I decided to cast on, I can't remember what I did, it'll say in my Ravelry notes, but I cast on a smaller amount and just started from the waist instead of the hip. It worked out really, really well. I ended up grading between two sizes, and I think I did slightly longer cuffs on the sleeves. That's pretty much it. You can also see I've got my beautiful badge on, which is, I can't remember the name of I think it's a Ukrainian artist, illustrator, but she did a collaboration with Melody of mandarins, and I am in the Melody fan club. I love her to pieces, and I'm so excited to wear this little pin. It was a beautiful present for my birthday from my wonderful friend Emily. So this is my first finished object. Oh, I need to breathe. I'm not used to podcasting. I feel quite nervous. I'll just walk through what I've been making. So I've got quite a few finished objects. I'll start with the knitted ones, and then I'll show you some of the sewn ones. I've got a wonderful basket here full of things to share with you guys. So the next finished object is this one here. It's this beautiful linen cotton shawl that I made. I don't think I've ever made a triangular shawl before. It's not a design that I ever thought that I would wear, but I feel like my aesthetic has changed slightly. I don't know whether or not it's the life changes that I'm making, like moving to the country and building a tiny house, and moving away from the city, but I feel like I'm getting a lot more earthy in my clothing choices and basically styling myself like a Swedish grandma. That's my friends will all laugh because that's basically my design aesthetic. But this is, I think it's the Farmhouse shawl. I'll write down the information here. I haven't made notes for this podcast, so I'm flying blind, but I'll put all the information below. I think it's the Farmhouse shawl. I can't remember the name of the designer. I'll write it below. And I used a beautiful, it's like an 8 or a 10 ply recycled cotton linen. I think it was Rosarios. It's in this really gorgeous kind of oatmeal-y colour with little splotches of more of a brown tone to it. I picked it up when I was working at Morris & Sons in Melbourne, which is a really nice yarn shop. But I'm so happy with how this came out. It was a very, very simple pattern. It was really enjoyable to knit. I think I knit it very quickly, like within a week. I think it was on maybe 4.5 or 5 mil needles. Again, you can have a look at my project notes on Ravelry. But it just has this really beautiful feel to it. I have been playing around with using more cotton yarns. I love to work with wool, but I really love to expand the different materials that I'm using as well. And I've been vegan for the past 7 months now, so I'm still trying to work out where I stand within the ethical nature of wool, and the fact that it is from a very beautiful animal. So I'm definitely still purchasing wool, I'm still buying wool and using wool. However, I'm just being more careful with where I'm purchasing it, and I'm being very mindful of the different fibres that are available as well. I think that's what I'm trying to say there. I've had a few people ask me about how I sit with being a vegan and wool, and yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm definitely still processing it and thinking about it, but It's an incredible fibre, and I think if it's purchased in a very ethical and thoughtful fashion, I think that in my mind it feels morally okay. But I'm still working on that one. But this is a beautiful cotton linen, and I couldn't be happy with this shawl. It's amazing. I've been wearing it quite a lot the last couple of months because it is a cotton linen blend. It's very breathable. It's really lovely actually for summer. Even when it's very warm, it's cooling. It feels very cool against your skin, and it's been a really nice little layer in the afternoons. So very happy with this one. I like the simplicity of it as well. It just goes with everything. I've been wearing a lot of linen dresses that I've been making, and it just goes with everything because of the colour. So very happy with this one. The next knitted object I just finished actually. It's a double finished object. These ones are the small flower mitts, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry. I'll write the designer's name here. It's actually two ladies who created the pattern. And I used little scraps from the wool I put aside for my Cozy Memories blanket, which I'll show you in a minute. I have this beautiful alpaca that was gifted to me in an Instagram swap, and then this one here is West Yorkshire Spinneries. It's a beautiful kind of dusty pink, and the cream coloured here is, oh, I can't remember the name of the designer. She's a Melbourne-based indie yarn dyer, and it's a beautiful merino single. And I couldn't be happier with how these came out. I knit them within, I think, a day and a half or something. They were very quick to knit, and I really just wanted a neutral project. And yeah, they're so beautiful. I can't wait to be able to wear them. They are far, far, far too warm to be wearing right now, but it's almost the first day of autumn, even though it's not going to be cool for a long time here. They have this really beautiful eyelet detail that goes all the way along the hand here on both sides, and then they've got this really lovely rib. It's a 3x1 rib, and I love how it fits. They're very snug, and there's movement in them though. And yeah, very simple, really beautiful, quite light. They'll be nice and snuggly and warm though in the winter. So I'm very happy with those. I knit these. Actually, I've just completely forgotten that I have a finished object in the house. I won't grab it this time, but if you go onto my Instagram account, you'll see that I've been making this crazy bright pink and blue jumper. It's the Humulus jumper, Humulus sweater, sorry. I'll write the designer's name here, and I've been knitting it as a birthday gift for a friend of mine who's really into bright colours. So it's been so much fun knitting in two colours that I would never knit with for myself. It's been a real kind of palette cleanse, which was really nice. And so I finished that for her. It's a little cropped Humulus sweater that's going to be heading off to Ireland to its owner. And these were my little neutral cleanse after that very bubblegum pink and tealy blue sweater that I made for Aoife. So yeah, these are the small flower mitts that I completed. The next two finished objects are sewing ones. And I actually have another dress that I have completed. It's a Watson dress by, I think it's Grainline Studios pattern, and it's a denim with mustard stripy pockets, and because I wear it so much, it's in the wash, so I can't show you this time, but I'll probably try and wear it on another podcast so you can see. Now the next finished object is a sewn one. This is an Ogden Cami, which is a really beautiful pattern. I'm completely blanking on the pattern designer's name, so I'll write it down here. But it's out of this really gorgeous, spotty, very, very light, I think it's maybe a chambray. I'm very bad at knowing what the fabric names are. I got this from Fabric Drop, which is a new little online fabric shop here in Australia. It's run by two lovely ladies and they're just so sweet. So I was very happy to support them and purchase this fabric from them. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, you would have heard the drama of the Ogden Cami, but this is actually Ogden Cami number 3. I started off with a really beautiful rayon and it was just huge. I went off of the body measurements and ended up being maybe the 3rd or 4th size in, and it came out like it was a size 18. It was absolutely massive. I don't know what was going on with the sizing of the pattern. As far as I'm aware, I printed the pattern at 100% scale, but I think something must have gone wrong because I ended up with this Ogden Cami. I think I started off on the 4th or 5th size, which is about right. Like, I'm a UK 12 to 14, and quite often they start a very, very small sizing. So that's pretty normal for me. And with this one, I ended up at a size extra small, like the smallest one, and it was down as a size 0, which is just ridiculous. So I'm not sure what's going on with the sizing there, whether or not it's me or the pattern, but something to consider. This is still pretty large, to be honest, but I think it's more of a design feature than anything. It's quite a drapey tank and it fits me pretty well at the bust. There's no bust shaping at all. It's very much just quite an A-line design, but it's beautiful. It's got a bust lining that you can see here, and just the finishing is really nice. I really took my time with this. It taught me a lot of patience. I can be quite a speedy person and want to get things done when I'm sewing, and quite often I can make mistakes. So with this version, I was very, very careful with what I was doing, and I'm really glad that I did because the finishing is really beautiful on it. Yeah, I haven't got anything more to say about this really. It's a really nice design. I think I don't know, I haven't found myself wearing it a ton, and I'm being very careful with the things that I create, making sure that they're very wearable because I am moving into a tiny house and minimising the stuff that I own a lot. So everything that I'm making also has to go within that and be very usable. It's definitely wearable. I know I will wear it. I think it's the fact that there isn't so much waist shaping on it. I think I prefer things with bust darts, but it is a really beautiful top and it looks really nice over skinny jeans, so it will get worn. And the final finished object, I think, ooh, too much talking. My throat's not used to podcasting. The final finished object is a little linen dress that I made for myself. It's a self-drafted pattern. Well, kind of. I took a pattern from a linen dress that I have in my wardrobe and have been replicating it. And this was just another version that I've made. It's this really beautiful natural coloured linen. This was my birthday dress actually. I just recently turned 30. And I had this really gorgeous European ribbon that I've been keeping for a long time. And I ended up creating this really beautiful V applique on the back of the dress and dipping the neckline down at the back. I also created a high-low hem and put the ribbon around the hem. And it's a really beautiful dress. I was really happy with how it came out. So that's that. And I think that's all of my finished objects. So I will show you some of the things that I'm working on at the moment. I've got quite a lot of projects on the go. Though my days have been very busy with building a tiny house, it's so nice at the end of the day just to relax and knit and sew, and because we're in the countryside, I don't have so many friends up here, so I've been spending a lot of time watching knitting podcasts and listening to Harry Potter audiobooks on Audible, and making things, which has been really fun as well. So I'll show you some of the things that I'm making. I'll start with this one. This didn't get This didn't get a lot of love for most of the time that I haven't been podcasting. However, in the last week I've picked it up again, so I want to show you what I've done. This is my Cozy Memories blanket. It's a pattern that was written, or it's a recipe, I guess, that was written by Kemper, Wray, and it's a free download on Ravelry. I have adjusted the pattern a fair amount, and you can actually look at my Ravelry notes to see what I've done. I've done a lot smaller squares, and I've also done a center double decrease here. I'm using a very specific palette of colours. It's got quite a seashelly, dusty kind of vibe to it, which I'm really enjoying. I was totally inspired by Nicole of the Gentle Knitter podcast. Nicole's creating the same Cozy Memories blanket with even smaller squares than I am, if you can imagine. But it's so beautiful, the palette is just gorgeous. So, and because these are the colours that I love to work with, I actually have quite a lot of 4-ply yarns in these tones. So yeah, I'll show you. So I've done, where am I? Okay. So I think I've got 25 squares on each row, and I've done the majority of this row. I think I had 3 or 4, so I've added on maybe 9 new squares this week. And it's just such an enjoyable project just to pick up and work on when you don't really want to think about anything else. Some really gorgeous colours in here. So really I'm just sticking to quite kind of muted tones. There's some really beautiful berry colours in there, and some quite kind of earthy tones. I am winding in my ends as I go. It's something that I normally do when I start a new colour with any project. Just at the beginning of the row, I wind the tails around the working yarn as I'm knitting, just for maybe 5 or 6 stitches, and then I'll just cut these tails off, and it just means that I don't have an absolute ton of ends to weave in, and it works out quite neat, I think. So if you're doing a scrappy blanket or something like that, that can be a really nice technique, just to wind your previous colour around the working yarn as you're knitting the first few stitches. It creates a very strong, like it's really not going anywhere. So yeah, that's my Cozy Memories blanket. I wonder if I can show you the whole thing. Ooh. And yeah, I'm kind of just going to keep on going until I don't want to go anymore. I'm hoping it will become like a sofa blanket for our tiny house or something like that. I'm using 2.5mm needles. I had a pair of Knit Pro 80cm circular sock needles that I had a bit of a nick on one of the cables, so I actually just butchered them a little bit, and they make a perfect little set of needles for this. So I've been really enjoying picking that up actually the last little while, so I'm hoping that that will continue and it will keep on being made into something beautiful. I've got a lot of projects, so I'm not really sure where to begin. I'll start with my Humulus sweater. So before I started my friend Aoife's Humulus sweater, I was actually working on one of my own, and I don't think you would have seen this. I started it on my birthday. So this is the Humulus sweater. It's a really beautiful pattern. The yarn colour, there we go, that's more of an accurate representation. It's this really beautiful kind of aubergine-y purple tone. And I have separated from the yoke and worked quite a fair bit down and past my waist on the body. There you go, you can see. But I've decided that I'm actually going to work the sleeves. I'm going to do a 3/4 length sleeve with a little bit of colour work. I'm thinking maybe replicating a little bit of this diamond section just before the cuff on the sleeve. I'm going to make the sleeves probably to about here. I always end up rolling my sleeves up anyway, so it's nicer for me to have 3/4 length sleeves. And then depending on how much yarn I have left, I might try and make a jumper dress because I've got a fair bit left. I've pretty much got 3 skeins of this beautiful wool. The wool was my 30th birthday present from my dad, who lives in the UK. It's a Dovestone DK, which is the in-house yarn brand of Farmhouse. It's 100% British, spun and dyed in Yorkshire, and is a blend of 50% blue-faced Leicester, 25% Wensleydale Longwool, and 25% dark brown Masham. And I had 500 grams, and there's 230 meters per skein. I'm also using a skein of Cascade 220. It's one of their headed colours. It's a really beautiful, just light grey. See here? And I'm using that for the colourwork section at the yoke and also on the sleeves. I love colourwork. It's so fun. It's quite a new technique for me. I've only used it maybe 2 or 3 times. That's the inside, and I just love all of the beautiful floats, and I'm getting a lot better at my tension with the colour work as well. But it's just so much fun. It creates such a beautiful design feature. So I'm hoping that this Humulus sweater is going to become a jumper dress if I have enough left over after the sleeves, which I'm hoping I will do, and then I can wear it with leggings and tights in the winter time, which is really nice. It'll become a bit of a wardrobe staple, I think. And this is just living in one of my homemade project bags. Really beautiful little batik fabric. So yeah, I would love to purchase some more Dovestone DK or some other yarn from Farmhouse. I know that they've got a really amazing 4-ply colourwork yarn that comes in maybe 12 colours or 15 colours. They really want to try out. So yeah, it's just so nice working with yarn which isn't merino. In Australia it's almost impossible to get anything other than merino, just because Australia is so famed for merino sheep. So the next project that I want to share with you guys is quite a new cast on. Wrong bag. Where are you then? Oh, you're in here. This is living in my beautiful cactus bag, and this is the Let It Fall sweater. It's a pattern by, I think it's Organic Knitters, it's Matilda Kruse, I think, and I think she's a Swedish designer. And I first saw this pattern on the Cami podcast and fell in love, and then I refound it when I was trying to work out what to use my Rowan felted tweed for. I ended up unravelling quite a lot of a project that I just stopped working on, and I can't even remember for the life of me what the name of that jumper was. I'll definitely make it at some point, but I think it was maybe one of the Madder jumpers. Anyway, so I have, I think, 8 skeins of this Rowan felted tweed. It's in this really beautiful kind of mustard colourway. It's quite a golden mustard with little flecks of black and quite a royal blue in there. And I am really enjoying this pattern so far. It's a lacy kind of boxy pattern, which has this really beautiful, I wonder if, there we go, you can see it better there, leaf design, which is quite an intuitive design. I definitely have to follow the pattern, but I've been really enjoying it. So the design is worked just on the front, and then on the back just from the shoulder blades and up. The pattern calls for reverse stockinette for the rest, which isn't lace, and I was not up for that much purling, so I decided to do just normal stockinette, which I think will still look beautiful. So I'm really excited about this project. I haven't worked on it in the last week or so, but yeah, I'm really, really excited about it, and I can't wait to carry on working on it. The colour is just beautiful, and it creates a really nice, warm, light knit. I'm using my Higher interchangeable set. This is a 3.5mm needle. These are not the sharps, they're just the regulars, and I really struggle with the sharps because I'm a thrower and I do push my needle through. I have actually ended up with the Higher sharps like making a hole in my finger, which is quite funny. I've heard it happens to quite a lot of people. But yeah, so they are good. I do find them a little bit too rounded for lace work in the bigger sizes. In the 3s and the 3.5s, it's totally fine. They're picking up the stitches, no problem. But yeah, I'm really, really happy with how this is looking. And I've got all of my beautiful yarn all smushed up in here. I've got some very large hand wound balls. Pretty funny. Lots and lots and lots of unravelling. It's quite nice actually, like I've been getting better and better at unravelling things that I'm just not excited about knitting anymore, and that's really nice because I think maybe because I value the wool so much more now than I used to. It feels so nice to honour the fibre with something that I'm going to really enjoy knitting and wearing. Alright. I've got a few more projects. So in my little homemade mustardy bag, I've got a new cast on. I'm working on a little wrap. It's using the pattern, the lace pattern from my sock pattern design, the New Growth socks, which I just absolutely love. I love this lace design so much. And I'm just working on a very kind of simple wrap pattern at the moment. If I do produce this design, then I will just do it at the same price as the socks, because it's quite a simple design, but I think it will make a really beautiful wide wrap, and I'm just kind of working on it as and when I feel like I want to. I'm using 2 skeins of white gum wool. This is an ethical Tasmanian merino. The lady behind White Gum Wool is just amazing. She keeps the sheep within family groups. She treats them incredibly well. I'm very happy to support her. This is a really beautiful, it's a non-superwash 4-ply. This is the gum grey colourway. She's got a 4 and an 8-ply. But yeah, it's like a little cloud. It's so lovely. So that is the New Growth wrap. I'm really enjoying working on that. It's a very simple, very intuitive lace design. I don't need to look at any charts or anything to be able to complete the pattern, so it's really enjoyable knit. Just to do as and when. It'll be quite a long-term knitting project just because I want the wrap to be quite large. I probably will end up purchasing more wool to complete it. There are, I think, 470 maybe 472 meters on each 100 grams of the white gum wool. So there's a fair amount there, but I really imagine having a really beautiful big rectangular wrap out of it in the long run. So yeah. Oh, I'll show you this. A new cast on that I cast on last night. It's for my little niece, and it's another little Flax light. I've knit one for her previously in the 6 months to 9 months, I think, size, or 6 months to a year, I can't remember. But she's growing pretty fast, so I wanted to make her another one, and I had a skein of this really gorgeous yarn that I received as a gift, and this is what I'm making the flax light out of. I'm doing it in the 1 to 2 years size, just so that it'll last her through this winter and potentially even into next winter as well, and her parents can just roll up the sleeves. But it has this really gorgeous contrasting light grey neckline, and I'll do the same for the cuffs and the hem, which is just this little ball of leftover sock wool. And this is all superwash, just so it can easily be chucked in the washing machine. It's a really beautiful colour, and I love how the colours play with the light grey. It's definitely a variegated tone, and there are some very light greys in there, so it's working really nicely. I am planning to have this completed by Sunday, because I'm going to see her on Sunday for breakfast, so yeah. It's a really beautiful pattern, Flax Light. It's a pattern by Tincan Knits, and I think it's a free pattern as well. I've used it a few times now. It goes all the way up to extra large adult size, and is a very simple raglan pattern to knit, but it has this really nice pearl detail going down the sleeves. So yeah, that's the Flax Light. So that's kind of what I'm working on this week, just to try and get it completed in time. And I think that's all the projects that I'm working on at the moment. I wanted to show you some yarning acquisitions and also some natural dyeing experiments that I've been doing. The yarning acquisition section, I received a beautiful parcel with Melody from Mandarins. Yeah, I love her to pieces, and she just sent me the most beautiful wool, and we did a bit of a swap kind of love care parcel. And she got me 4 skeins of hobby wool, which is her local Latvian wool from her local yarn shop. She's used this wool in a number of designs, and she's about to, she's in the process of creating a pattern with it at the moment. So I'm trying to decide, she got my colours down perfectly. We have quite, well, very similar colour taste, which is why I love just following her so much, as well as the fact that I think she's amazing. But also just like, I just get so inspired by everything that she creates. So she got me 3 skeins of this really lovely rustic, kind of charcoaly grey colour. It's a 4-ply, and there is 350 metres on here, so it's a reasonably good sized 4-ply. And then she got me this beautiful, it's like my favourite pink, it's like the terracotta-y pink. And again, 1 skein of this, and it's 350 metres, yeah. So I'm thinking I'll either use it for a design by Melody, or I really wanted to do some kind of almost like a traditional colourwork yoke, but I haven't found any 4-ply colourwork jumpers. So if there's any patterns that you think that I might like and that you could recommend on Ravelry, please do let me know. I found that most of the yoke patterns are for 8 or 10-ply, and I would love a 4-ply version, just because I really don't need another chunky knit really. It gets cold here, but I get a lot more use out of a 4-ply than an 8-ply jumper, so there'll be plenty here to create a really beautiful big squishy jumper. And yeah, please, any pattern recommendations for 4-ply patterns, that would be fantastic. Colourwork yokes preferably. I found a really beautiful pattern, but it was in a magazine that it's the only pattern I'm really interested in, so yeah, if you have any recommendations, let me know. And finally, I've been doing a little bit of natural dyeing experimenting, which has been really fun. I've done a little bit in the past, but haven't really had many good results, so I was really excited to just be inspired to have another play. And I received for my 30th birthday from my lovely friends 2 skeins of Woolganics knitting yarn, which is an organic merino. It's an 8-ply, and I got 2 skeins, and this has been dyed with avocado. I actually have done 2 avocado baths for this wool. It's really hard. It's kind of coming up a lot more beige than it is in real life. It's very much a rosy pinky tone with like a cream undertone. The first bath I did came out very, very, very pale pink. It's a really beautiful colour, and you can kind of see sections of it just here. So what I did in the second bath was I added more avocado, and then I actually just left it wound up in the skein in a very light wind, kind of almost like this. Very, very light wind while it was being boiled with the avocado dye. And the result of that is a really kind of beautiful mottled, rosy pink shade. I can't wait to have a play with these and find a beautiful pattern to make with them. I'm thinking there'll be enough for some kind of cowl or something cozy to put around my neck, maybe a little shawl or something. It smells so sheepy and avocado-y right now. It's quite funny. It needs to be aired out, and it's still a little bit damp, but I had to show you. Very, very beautiful. I don't know how well you can see those tones. They look quite bluey on my screen, but yeah, I'm really happy with how these came out. I want to have a play with black beans as well. Black beans create a really beautiful kind of bluey grey tone, so I want to have a play with that next. What's interesting is I actually put a little skein of leftover superwash sock yarn. I think it was just maybe some Knit Pick Stroll, and that's how it came out in the same dye bath, which is crazy. I always knew that superwash yarns dyed up way more vivid than non-superwash yarns, but I found that so amazing just to see how much better it took up the dye, which is interesting because I really do try and steer clear of superwash yarns as much as I'm able to, but it's interesting to see anyway. So I'll be adding this into my Cozy Memories blanket. It's very pretty, like you can see the different tones where it's picked up I also had this kind of wound up into a skein, just because I really wanted to emphasise the mottled nature of the natural dyeing. But yeah, so that's going to become a few squares in my Cozy Memories blanket. And these will be going into the stash for a little bit until I decide something really beautiful to make with them. But yeah, that was really good fun. I think that is everything that I've got to share with you guys today. Thank you so much for listening to what I've been making. I love to hear from you guys, so please do comment below. You're welcome to check out my Instagram and also my tiny house vlogs for really in-depth footage and information about the tiny house build. And until next time, happy knitting, happy crafting.